so important. It is our job as a photographer to use our knowledge to make sure we inform our clients on what to expect on a wedding day. I gave you a sample of a sample wedding day timeline that I use, but it changes depending on where the location is of the reception, the ceremony. Is it the same? The time of the ceremony? There's a lot of different circumstances that go into play when I'm mapping out a wedding day timeline. Probably the biggest question that I get asked, most of my collections include 8 hours of coverage. So the biggest question that I get asked is, I want to capture the getting ready. I tell clients it's not important that I capture all the getting ready if that's not something that we will have enough time to allocate. A lot of times they show up to the ceremony location and the getting ready room, and they have their hair done, they have their base of their makeup done. So I'm just capturing the final touches, the lip gloss, touching up the blush and the mascara and the things like that, as well as all the details of the shoes and the rings and getting the dress on. So that aspect of the getting ready. And I also like to do that with the guys as well. They show up, have their pants on, their shirt unbuttoned, but I like to capture the tie and the belt and the shoes because they have details as well. My philosophy on a wedding day timeline is it's imperative. It's imperative to make sure that we get the images that we want as the photographer, but to also make sure it alleviates stress and there's some sort of flow and timeline, and so people know what to expect come wedding day. Does everything go as planned? Absolutely not. But that's why we create a timeline, is to try to eliminate any sort of hiccups or anything. When I first got into photography, I was second shooting with some photographers, and if something would go off, a lot of times they would get stressed out. I feel like one of the biggest advantages that we can be as a photographer is to make sure we never show any stress. If there is a wedding timeline and we're off by 30 minutes, that's okay. It's our job to readjust and to make sure that everything to them looks perfect, but to also make sure that we're keeping them on track and just doing it with a positive attitude. So there's basically two styles of photography. One is photojournalistic, where you capture, those kind of wedding photographers are capturing nothing but the day unfolds. And there's beauty in that. I think that there's some really amazing and talented photojournalists. But my style is kind of mixing the two. I like to have a wedding timeline. I think it's important to have the formal family photos. I think it's important to allocate time for the bride and groom to have that time to create some really creative images. So I like to mix it. Typically my second photographer, and this is what I tell my clients, my second photographer is not really the voice that day. They're just kind of there and they're capturing the in-between moments. My images are typically a mix. They're a mix of details, candid shots, setup shots. But they're more just capturing everything from the side and from a different angle and perspective that I cannot capture. So that at the end of the day, my images come together with my second shooter, and that is the wedding story. The wedding story is the details. It's the family that's come into out of town. It's the friends that you haven't seen since college. It's all the details that you picked out because they mean something to your personality. So this is my approach to wedding timelines. The biggest thing is just, again, setting expectations and making sure that everything goes as smooth as possible come wedding day so that the clients really get what they expect and then some, and you get those great images that you're so proud that you want to share.